right, ladies and gentlemen, 730 Sports, JP. Long time no hear from. I know. But, it is what it is. Scheduling. And on top of that, basically, I didn't want to get involved with the whole Super Bowl talk. Too much Super Bowl talk. It makes me sick. I don't pay any attention to it. So I really didn't want to talk about it, you know. Good game, whatever. Carolina loses, whatever. Let's move on. What I want to talk about right now is the New York Knicks. Yeah, the New York Knicks. And you might be wondering, why the hell do I give a damn about the New York Knicks? Because they pretty much suck, right? Who cares? But the New York Knicks, I got into a conversation with a dude, and we started breaking down the New York Knicks, and not on a basketball level, but deeper than that. And we got into a conversation, and it was something that I felt like, could be discussed, and those that think on a different level understand where I'm coming from. Those of you who just want to talk stats and numbers, well, you can probably just stop this video right now. Here's the problem with the New York Knicks, and there are some other teams in the NBA that have the same problem, but here's the issue. Bullshit flows downhill, all right? So when you have a fucked up owner, the fucked up owner hires a fucked up GM. Fucked up GM hires a fucked up coach. And the GM, along with the coach, evaluate players and they draft, fucked up players. And they sign fucked up free agents. Right? All right, so here's the problem with the Knicks. Me and the guy got into a discussion. We said, well, how do you fix the Knicks? Here's how you fix the Knicks. The easy way to fix the Knicks would be to get rid of the owner. Can't do that. Can't fire an owner, so let's just get that off the table. I heard people say that dumb shit all the time. Well, we need to get rid of the owner. The owner needs to sell the team. Why the fuck would the owner sell the team? Makes no sense, right? So let's move on beyond the owner, all right? The first way the New York Knicks can be fixed is, first and foremost, get Carmelo Anthony off your books. You got to start there. Now, a lot of people will say, and I hear people say, so-called experts also say, well, why would you get rid of Carmelo Anthony? Well, easy. He's not worth what you're paying him. He never was. All right? And especially when you don't have a team that's ready to contend, you have to get rid of your quote-unquote superstar that's eating up your salary. You got to get rid of him. Basically, you have to rebuild. You never, ever, ever should have re-signed Carmelo Anthony based upon what other players you had to put with him, which was basically nothing. The team was not going to contend. Therefore, if your team is not going to contend, why in the world would you pay somebody a max deal over the age of 30, starting to have a lot of injuries? You can't pay that guy, especially the fact that the NBA is changing. Now, Carmelo Anthony is what you call a quote-unquote stretch four. He is that, okay? And everybody needs him. The NBA has changed to the point where it's all about the perimeter game. So you need a guy with some size, but who can go outside, shoot some threes, but be able to defend, another stretch four. Carmelo is that. I understand it, all right? I don't think he's a bad player. Actually, I think he's a hell of a player, but he's not the player for the Knicks at this time. He wasn't the player for the Knicks when he signed the extension. He wasn't the player for the Knicks when they gave him the deal. That wasn't it. They should have let him go to Chicago or other places that he wanted to explore. All right? So you get rid of Carmelo Anthony. You get him off your books. All right? Why do you do that? Because you free up cap space. Now, why do you want to free up cap space? Well, easy. Because you have to sign free agents. Why do you have to sign free agents? Because you don't have any draft picks. See? When you fuck up something on a level like that, you then have to sacrifice what you think is good or good qualities or pieces of your team in order to fix the overall fuck up. You understand? So you don't have draft picks. You have a player who's not worth the money you're paying him, and you don't have a team to put around him. What do? You get rid of the guy that's eating up the salary because you have to sign free agents. Okay? Because you don't have draft picks. All right. So That's the first mistake that's being made by the New York Knicks right now. That's the major one. Bad mistake re-signing Carmelo. They did it out of fear, I think, because the thought process is, well, we don't have a superstar. How are we going to get other free agents here? Here's what they didn't understand. Other free agents did not want to come to the Knicks. They didn't think about that. They didn't want to come to the Knicks. Why would they want to come to the Knicks? Free agents were turning down interviews with the Knicks. They weren't even coming to the city. They were like, nah, we don't want to talk to the Knicks. For what? Why would they? All right? So, now, here's the other problem. You have a GM who's never been a GM before. Now, Phil Jackson is a hell of a basketball coach. But I don't understand why anybody thought that him being a great basketball coach was supposed to automatically transition him into being a great GM. Doesn't work that way. Two different jobs. All right? So now you got Phil Jackson here who is stuck in a time warp. All right? Preaching the triangle offense. When you are not flexible, you become stagnant. You're stiff and you break. And this is what happened. This is what's happening to Phil Jackson right now. He is not flexible. The game has changed. All right. So you want to hire coaches that are going to run the triangle offense. Last time I checked, there was no Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal. There was none of those guys on the New York Knicks. So why are you trying to put this system in place? Because you want to prove it can work. See, the problem here is a little bit of ego. He is so... He wants to prove so badly that it was the system that he won with and not the players, that now he has to make this system work somewhere else without the superstar player. So he can say, yes, the triangle was a great offense. It's a great system. Yes, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant were parts of it, but the system... Okay, but the NBA has changed. You can't run it. It's not going to work. I don't get it. I don't understand his thought process here. It can't be anything but ego or ignorance. It can only be one of the two or a combination of both. I don't know. All right? But I've never thought of Phil Jackson to be ignorant. Actually, over the years of all the things I heard from Phil Jackson, read about Phil Jackson, super intelligent dude from what I can tell. So I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's ego. All right? I want to run this my way. I want to run this offense. We can make it work. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. The NBA has changed. There are teams that run some plays that are variation of certain sets of the triangle. Golden State runs a little bit of it. If you understand the triangle and you understand what you're watching, they run variations of it, but it's a very small part of what they do. You cannot have a system and think that it's going to work like the triangle because it's outdated. The game has changed. The game is pace and space. Nobody wants to stand still. Standing still, basically in the NBA now, you get killed standing still. You have to constantly be moving. Okay? So that's the problem. Phil Jackson has to get rid of this thought process of the triangle. Now, let me tell you how that fucked up everything. Because the fact that you want to push this triangle, you now can only hire certain coaches who are willing to run the triangle. You see? It can't work. All right? So you end up with people like Derek Fisher. Okay? All these other guys that came off the Phil Jackson coaching tree, triangle tree, whatever. You get your Kurt Rambuses. All of these guys have been losing coaches, and some of them have never coached before, like Derek Fisher, okay? You can't win with that. So here's the problem with the Knicks. The Knicks need an overall philosophy change. You see? Until you change your philosophy and the way you think, you will continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And it's the problem with the Knicks. New York Knicks fans, they always want to talk about Carmelo and defense and coaching. No, it's a philosophy problem with the New York Knicks. And it starts with the owner. And it trickles way down. And it keeps going down. So now you have a guy in a position like Phil Jackson who can change the philosophy of this team by being the barrier between the owner and what happens on the court. But Phil Jackson is also caught up in a philosophy of triangles and certain type players and certain type coaches. No flexibility. Listen, it goes beyond sports. If you cannot show flex in your life, flexibility, the willingness to try new things, the willingness to have different thought processes and take in different philosophies, whether you agree with them or not, you're losing. You're dead. And that's what's happening to the Knicks. It's very simple. So the problem with the Knicks is screw basketball, screw Carmelo, screw all of that. It's a philosophy issue. It's a stagnant way of being. It's a lack of flexibility. And until they change all of that, the Knicks will continue to be a losing basketball team that signs terrible free agents. And Porzingis, they lucked into Porzingis. Please don't think that they made some great move here. They lucked into the guy. If they had a pick that was higher than 4, do you think they would have took Porzingis? No, not at all. Not at all. They would never taken the kid. So they lucked into that. And here's the thing about luck. Luck is the residue of hard work, right? But if you're not doing any hard work and you get lucky, can you expect it to repeat itself? No. So, you look at the Knicks. That's the problem with the Knicks. New York Knicks should be a team that is constantly contending because it's the mecca of basketball. Always has been. Okay? But when your team is bad, nobody gives a damn. You see? So the Knicks need a philosophy change. You can't get rid of the owner. You need a GM who's going to learn how to be flexible and they can make better decisions. So that's it. That's the problem with the Knicks. First video in a long time, I know, but it is what it is. We'll be talking about some other shit. Not just, scores and X's and O's, but everything has a philosophy. Everything is deeper than what you think it is, And some people don't have that mindset or that mental capability to look at things and see what's going on underneath the surface, but my thought process is always to look deeper. In other words, always ask why, always ask why and then ask why again, and try to figure it out and think how it benefits the people involved, how the decisions they make benefit them. Just don't look at the decision that was made and say it was stupid. Look at how it benefits them. You see? So that's it, man. JP 730 Sports. I'm out.